Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome whenever you happen to be watching this video. My name is Shannon Denna, and I am your son or daughter's mobile app development teacher. What I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit about this course and show you all about CodeHS, which is the online platform you're currently using to learn mobile app development. I'm going to first tell you a little bit about myself. This is my 18th year at Fremd. Currently, I teach Java and mobile apps, although I taught math for the first 12 years of my career, and now I teach all CS. I was a double major in math and computer science, and I also have 2 masters. My claim to fame is that I met Bill Gates when I interned for Microsoft out in 2002, so that was pretty exciting. And in terms of things I do outside of school, I volunteer a lot with Ups for Downs because our middle daughter has Down syndrome, and that is a group that is close to our heart. I also sponsor and started a club at school called Life, which helps foster positive friendships among students of all abilities. And a little bit about our family is that we love to travel. We have a giant RV and we go all around the country. We usually spend about at least a month in the summer traveling when school gets out. So here are a few pictures from our vacation this past summer where we sheltered in place on the road, and we got to go to the Badlands and the Grand Tetons and the Arch, and we were at camping on the beach in Bear Lake in Utah, and it was amazing. We had a wonderful time, a lot of great family time, good memories. All right, so what are we going to learn in this class? Well, every time students ask me, I say, well, we're going to make apps. Every year the class changes. It depends on current technology, it depends on student interest, and right now it kind of depends on our learning spaces. And we're stuck at home. And that poses a big problem because number one, not all students have personal computers. Number two, not all students have Apple computers. And number three, even if students have a computer, it doesn't mean that it's a robust enough computer to handle some of the software that we use. And then the last problem is just getting it all set up. For some students, getting all of the software packages set up and getting going is a lot of work to do on their own at home. So for that reason, we decided to start the year with CodeHS and use their platform for teaching React Native. One of the great things about React Native is that as the apps are built, they can be deployed onto an iOS or an Android device. So students can learn how to code and then immediately see the results on their own personal phone. Whereas before, when we spent the first few months in Android, they could only see them on their phone if they had an Android phone. And then the only way they could code for their iPhones was if we used Swift and Xcode, which has to be done on a Mac device. And only about 25% of our students have Mac devices based on my survey. So as of right now, we're going to finish our unit on React Native. And then from there, depending on what our class environment is like, remote or hybrid, we'll kind of play it by ear. My hope is that we'll be able to move into Android Studio and then from there explore some other topics. But it's just kind of up in the air at the moment. We're all being flexible. Ideally, whichever languages and options we choose, second semester, the students will have the opportunity to develop a concept, research, build a prototype, develop their app, have focus groups, and get it out there and really just the whole cycle from beginning to end. So what I wanted to do now is give you a quick demo of CodeHS. And CodeHS is the software system that we are using. And within this system, this right here is a student view. So when your student logs in, they will see messages on top. Now I have some other messages because I have messages from my students, but this, for example, will be what they would see if I graded their work. So right now I'm student Denna, and this is Shannon Denna, teacher. And I got a 5 out of 5 on an assignment and a 10 out of 10 on an assignment. Here I can see some past due assignments. As you can see, I'm not a very good student apparently. And we can see things that I need to work on. And then here we can see my progress and where I'm at. This tab is huge. If you're somebody who's just kind of curious about how your son or daughter is doing, I would encourage you to just jump right to this tab at the bottom. So when we click on this tab, you're going to see some different color coding, and all of these different color codes, these represent the different stages of the assignment. So gray means the assignment hasn't even been opened. Yellow means that they've opened it, but it's not finished. Green means they've opened it and they've submitted it for me to review. Pink means that I've reviewed it and it needs some work. If they need to fix something, they need to change something. When an assignment gets turned back in for review, it gets a temporary 0, not because I think it's worth no points, but just because CodeHS does that. However, they're allowed to resubmit it for full credit. And then the pink means that they have made corrections and resubmitted it. And then it goes back into my queue for grading. And then the dark green means that it's finalized. So if you were to expand any one of these, you would see, for example, all of these little circles. Now, I have a screenshot I'll show you in a minute because I don't have very many circles colored on here, so it doesn't show it as well. But all of the greens show you the things that I've done. Now, we have these different icons here. So every lesson starts with a video, and the videos are posted on YouTube. They also have the slides. So typically what we'll do in class is I will assign the students to watch a video as part of their homework, and then the next day I will go over those concepts briefly. So that way they've heard them once through the video, and then I reteach them again at the beginning of class. And then this here is a little checkpoint quiz that they can do to assess their understanding. These don't count for a grade. And then these next two, these are examples. And these are code that's already written out, already works to allow them to practice with the skills that were taught in the lesson. And then these last three, the little pencils, those are all exercises. So the exercises are like their homework problems to do. And they vary from, smaller to harder. And the harder ones, I wait for more points. And as you can see, this, my student self hasn't really opened a lot of these things. So when I click on one of these tasks, when I open it up, the first thing that I'm going to see is I'll see the task and I'll see what I need to do. And I'll see, the different code that needs to be done. Actually, it looks like I did do this. Maybe I didn't submit it. I don't know. And then I can run my code. So I can run my code right over here in the side. So this is my on-screen emulator, which is pretty cool. And as they're doing their code, they can see it right here on the screen, immediate gratification that it's working. The way that React Native works, for those of you that know coding, is it's a combination of JavaScript, HTML, type ideas. So the code in here, this is XML, and then we have a combination of XML and JSX, and together we build components, and each of these components is a new piece that goes on the app screen. So we learn about ways to style those pieces, ways to arrange those pieces, and then we're starting to learn now about how to give them functionality. You can also download an app called Expo, and with this app, you can scan the QR code and have the app open up on your mobile device, which is pretty cool as well. All right, so now if I were to click off of this, now we see that that turns yellow. It turns yellow because I opened it up. So I can see that I actually have opened this up, and I can see that I have done some work here. And so that's how I know what I have and haven't done. Now, if students get stuck, which happens, they're encouraged to do a lot of things. One thing they can do is they can click on the More tab, and they can start a conversation. And in this spot, they can type a question to me, the teacher. Now, I can't demo this because I can't type a question to myself, but they can type a question and they can submit it, and then it shows up on my dashboard of things to do and look at. And so then that allows me to get back to them. And I try to respond to their questions within a day. It just depends on how many things I have on my workflow. All right, so let me go ahead and show you what the students, a little bit more about what theirs looks like. So for example here, like I already said about the different color coding schemes, about the dark green, dark pink, and so on. So you'll see that a bunch of these are gray, and that's because those weren't assigned. Whether or not the students play with the examples, that's their choice. After the lesson that we went over in class, they may feel they understand them and they just want to jump right to the homework. I'm okay with that. But if they do the examples, that's fine too. Sometimes we'll do the examples together in class. It just depends every week. Now this student had 2 assignments that were marked for review, and this student never went back and did them. So unfortunately, the student still hasn't gotten credit for those assignments because he or she did not go back and fix them. Over here, this is our last current unit, and as you can see, these 3 things were turned in. They need to be graded, and this thing, again, is still being worked on. So a couple of things I want to mention before we wrap up is that this is a capstone class. It is for hard-working, motivated students. At this point, these kids have taken anywhere from 1 to 3 programming classes, and they have learned several programming languages. They have had people teach and teach and teach them, and now this is their chance to investigate and learn on their own. And many of my students love the fact that they have the opportunity in this class to really just go with it. They can research things, they can make up their own projects, they can be creative and not be told that their project has to fit in this little box. And so that is one of the things I love the most about this class. In terms of how students are graded, it is an honors class. I expect the quality of work to reflect that. The semester grade is made up of a series of points. So right now, all of the homeworks that they're doing, they earn points, anywhere from 3, 5, 10 points per assignment they do, and they all add up and I put in a grade for the week. As we move out of this learning phase and get into small projects, then that project will be worth a point. or will be worth points. And the greater the project is in scale, the more points it will be worth. So that way it gets weighted heavier in the grading system. We will use the standard 90, 80, 70 scale. And in terms of what class is next, those students who are current juniors, some of them will choose to take independent study next year, which is where they are fully 100% independent. Other students will choose to go into the internship program. They'll sign up for the internship, which is dual credit with Harvard, and they will intern for a CS class. I actually have 5 interns this year, and they're phenomenal. They will they help out with grading, with answering student questions, with coming up with warm-ups and exit slips, helping debug code, and they really help train and help lift up our younger programmers. And then lastly, you can also take AP Statistics, which is another elective in the math department. All right, that is all I have for today. So if you have any questions for me, email is the best way to get a hold of me. This phone number leads to just some generic voicemail that I then have to listen to on my email. So it's much easier if you just send me an email, and then we can dialogue back and forth that way. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that this helped give you a little bit of insight into our class. And good night, good morning, good evening. Thanks for coming to my house, and it was nice meeting you. Have a good night.